Hey guys, welcome back to CLOWNFISH TV. This is Kneon, and we're in the end game now. Okay, wrong universe, but there's definitely something going on with DC Comics and its parent company, Warner Media, and its parent company, AT&T. I think that's as far up the food chain as we go. Anyway, big, huge, massive announcement that really shouldn't surprise anyone who's been paying attention, but I had several people reach out via email and via Twitter and be like, did you hear about this? And no, at that point in time, I hadn't. DC has cut ties completely with Diamond Comics Distributors. That means DC Comics will no longer be available in previews for the first time in damn near 30 years. So this is, you know, I would like to say I'm surprised, but I'm really not, because they've had a pretty contentious relationship since, you know, frankly, Diamond cut and run. They left publishers and shops to their own devices, and they gave all kinds of excuses as to why they had to shut down the way they shut down. And, you know, a lot of shops aren't going to come back online as quickly as other shops. And so DC, desperate DC, forged an alliance with two completely unproven distributors. They're actually part of Midtown Comics, and I forget what the other one is, but it's Lunar Distribution, UCBS, I think, or UBCS. We're going to talk about it, but that's who they're going to be going with. Now, they just started doing this like a month ago, so we don't even know how this is going to work. But it does seem like a very last-ditch effort for DC to get its material out there and prove to Warner Media that they're worth keeping around. There have been a lot of rumors, a lot of speculation over the last couple years that Warner Media, being in the position they're in right now, the financial position that they have a lot of debt, may look to stop publishing DC Comics themselves and maybe just outsource comic publication to the highest bidder. You know, whichever publisher wants to pay for the license, which would dramatically alter the comic book, publishing landscape. But at this point, it's things have been changed. We're not going to go back to what we had before the pandemic. The comic book industry, the direct market, has been forever changed. A lot of shops are not going to come back online. A lot of publishers are probably going to go out of business, and the publishers that are left will probably have to pare back on their lines and start creating more content that is going to sell. Basically, there's not going to be any room for comics that don't sell. You know, maybe in the indie space, but it's going to be up to independent creators to create or take chances, I think, on new stuff. I think the mainstream comic book industry is probably going to have to play it safe for a while. And part of that, I believe, is the cancellation of the 5G event, which would have absolutely been the kiss of death for DC, where they basically rebooted the universe or replaced all their heroes at once. This never, ever works. Marvel tried it in 2015, and it was catastrophic for them. So this is coming from the Hollywood Reporter, and I'm going to go out to Comics Beat, see what they have to say. DC cuts ties with Diamond Comics Distributors. The publisher will no longer distribute through the industry leader in comics distribution. In a seismic shift for the comic book industry, DC has cut ties with Diamond Comics Distributors. The announcement was made via an email to retailers sent Friday morning, with the company telling customers that all orders for DC product will be fulfilled by Lunar Distribution and, UCS Comic Distributors. I was close. For periodical releases in Penguin Random House for graphic novels and collected editions. An email sent to retailers explained, "We recognize that to many of you this may seem like a momentous decision. However, we can assure you this change in DC's distribution plans has not been made lightly and follows a long period of thought and consideration," i.e. Warner Media has been on them for quite some time to make this thing profitable, or they're done. I mean, we saw it happen to Dan DiDio. He got gone. They didn't really replace him. They just kind of moved Jim Lee over, and he does seem like kind of a lame duck editor-in-chief, president of the company, publisher of the company. I think he's publisher now. So yeah, it's, you know, I think they're being told, make this profitable or we're going to do something else. The change in direction is in line with DC's overall strategic vision, intended to improve the health of and strengthen the direct market. No, as well as grow the number of fans who read comics worldwide. The message continued. In the near term, Diamond will only be fulfilling orders placed through June 1st final order cutoff and will not solicit the sale of new DC titles further. To ensure a smooth transition for retailers, DC will suspend final order cutoff for June 8th, making those books available to order on final order cutoff on June 15th. A spokesperson from DC told The Hollywood Reporter after 25 years, DC and Diamond are ending their long-standing relationship. Moving forward, comic book retailers can obtain their DC books from Penguin Random House or their books and periodicals through Lunar or UCS comic book distributors. DC continues to be committed to providing the direct market with the best-in-class service and the fans with the world's greatest comic books. Well, yeah, we saw that Lunar was I think it was Lunar, was actually packing the books. Well, they weren't just like dumping them in a box. So retailers were actually getting books that were in decent condition, that they were sellable. They didn't have to throw them out. DC's periodical product had, until earlier this year, been exclusively distributed by Diamond Comics Distributors, which holds a virtual monopoly on comic book distribution in the North American market. Not anymore. Following Diamond's decision to close down as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic in mid-March, followed by Diamond announcing that it would withhold payment to publishers, this is critical. Citing cash flow problems, DC announced plans to find alternative distribution. Yeah, Warner Media's looking at DC like, you're having enough trouble making money off of comic books, and now freaking Diamond is shutting down and they're not paying you? This is unacceptable. Find another way or we're going to shut you down. That's why things probably going on. The company eventually settled on two newly created companies, Lunar Distribution and UCS Comic Distributors, to handle periodical distribution while Diamond was closed. All parties involved, including DC and Diamond, publicly stated that DC would continue to release product through Diamond when the latter resumed distribution in late May. DC parting ways with Diamond means that the latter loses the second biggest publisher in the North American market, responsible for roughly 30% of the entire market in 2019. Yeah, I don't think things are going to be fine for Diamond. I really don't. It's a significant blow to the distribution company as it reopens after 2 months, especially with publishers across the line significantly pulling back on releases in the wake of the coronavirus closures and furloughs of their own. The Hollywood Reporter has reached out to Diamond for comment. It's all fine here, guys. Everything's fine. Back the comeback. Back the comeback. Buy our shirts. Throw that label on our books. DC's like, hell no. Hell no. And I think they're right in what they're doing. We can't depend on Diamond. They're not the only publisher, though. Our friends over at Alterna Comics, they told Diamond to take a hike, too. They're just going to sell direct to consumer, and they might be using, maybe they'll be using one of these other outfits to distribute books. They're looking into starting their own distribution. So there's going to be more alternatives. This is coming from Heidi McDonald at The Beat. Holy Hell Friday. I like that. Now, this is something that Heidi apparently said in the article, since Lunar and DCS as distributors essentially exist just to ship out books. I assume someone at corporate made it very clear that any future disruption of distribution would likely end DC as a publisher, so they could no longer rely on an outside vendor they didn't control. I agree, that's probably what's going on here. I guess the problem is that making this change is a huge disruption to distribution, likely accelerating the end of print distribution for single issue comics. I agree. I mean, DC accounts for over a quarter of Diamond's business, and that is now gone overnight. The ongoing viability of Diamond has maybe never been more uncertain. A crippled Diamond may not last this rebuilding period the market is in, and then that's it for every other publisher as far as single print issues are concerned, which would close most stores, which means there's no one to stock DC print comic books from Lunar or UCS. This is it. This is it, guys. This is the end game. We're in the end game right now. All it takes is to pull the right or wrong brick in a pile of Jenga, right, in Jenga, and the whole damn thing comes down. And that's what's going to happen here. DC, one of the big two, just pulled out of Diamond. Stores are closed, and a lot of publishers are cutting back on their lines. They may not be coming back. We've got IDW hanging on by their fingertips. I don't know what the future holds for IDW, and at some point Disney's going to take a good hard look. All it takes is one of these two to budge. That's all it takes. And now that DC has blinked first, Disney might look at Marvel Comics and be like, we don't really need them as a publisher, do we? Because all of our other Disney books, we just outsource those. We don't need to publish Marvel Comics ourselves, and we can save a hell of a lot of money if we just get rid of all these comic book people. And then we also can save face. Because, let's face it, these comic book freelancers are a PR nightmare. We don't want to have to deal with them. We don't want to have to deal with all the crazy shit these freelancers are saying on social media. We don't want to have to wrangle the cats. So it's somebody else's problem. If they want the license, they can deal with it, but they can't come back on Disney or on Warner Brothers and say these people are saying stupid things on social media. That's what I would do. I'd just be like, oh, I'll just job it out to somebody else and it's their problem, right? You just pay us our licensing fee and our royalties every year and we call it a day. Jamie Colville says, I have to think it's a decision that upper management made, one that thinks very little of the comic market. They don't think anything of the comic market. Neither one, Warner Brothers or Disney. It's nothing to them. It will follow them wherever they go en masse at their whim. I doubt this is going to work long term. Only a matter of time before DC has to survive on direct-to-graphic novel books because I think this is going to kill their floppies. It could potentially kill a lot of people's floppies. 100% agree with Jamie here, says Dennis. I also think this may help hasten the demise of many shops already hurting from the pandemic. Agreed. Either spend more money and time on new distributors or lose money from customers because you no longer carry DC monthly books. It's over. We're in the end game right now. We absolutely are. And again, I'm sorry, wrong universe, but this is it for the direct market. It's going to be a series of fatal blows until the body just doesn't twitch anymore. And that's what's going to happen. A lot of comic shops are not coming back. They're not coming back. Even the ones that wanted to come back, some of the ones that wanted to come back were recently destroyed. Physically destroyed, and they can't afford to come back. So this is another huge blow. This is the year that people are going to look back at, 2020 being shitastic, I made that up, shitastic year that it's been, being the shitastic year that it's been. This is the year that the direct market dies. This is it, or at least stops being relevant. So I'm going to wrap this one up. Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, and we'll talk later. Hey guys, thanks for watching Clownfish TV. Please consider supporting the channel. Go to clownfishsupport.com. That's clownfishsupport.com. And if you want to join our community, go to clownfishtalk.com. That's clownfishtalk.com. Please subscribe, ring the bell for notifications. We will talk to you next time.